20 Crazy Last Meals on Death Row. Lawrence Russell Brewer. Lawrence Russell Brewer's last meal inspired the state of Texas to cease this tradition. Wasn't what he requested, but instead what he did with his meal. Brewer requested a triple bacon cheeseburger, 2 chicken fried steaks with gravy and onions, a cheese and beef omelet, tomatoes and meat lovers pizza bell peppers, jalapenos, a bowl of okra, 1 pound of barbecue meat, half a loaf of bread, and 3 fully loaded fajitas, 3 root beers, a pint of ice cream, and a slab of peanut butter fudge. This certainly put the kitchen staff on high alert, but what ticked everyone off was when he refused to eat a single bite of his epic last meal. John Wayne Gacy. John Wayne Gacy was the infamous killer clown who raped and killed 33 boys and young men, keeping their bodies in his home. He was convicted in 1980 and sentenced to death. Took place in 1994 for his last meal. Gacy requested 12 pieces of fried shrimp and a bucket of original KFC fried chicken, French fries, and a pound of strawberries. Timothy McVeigh was the terrorist responsible for the Oklahoma City bombing in 1995. Convicted of terrorism and mass murder and sentenced to the death penalty, he was executed in 2001. But before his death, he requested a last meal of 2 pints of mint chocolate chip ice cream. Clarence Ray Allen. Clarence Ray Allen was the second oldest inmate to be executed. At the age of 76, he was convicted of 3 counts of murder in 1980, but wasn't executed until 2006. He was a diabetic and suffered a heart attack in 2005. These health issues might have been why Allen had a healthy last meal, which consisted of buffalo steak fried chicken and sugar-free pecan pie, sugar-free walnut ice cream. William Bonin, known as the Freeway Killer. William Bonin committed some despicable crimes, including the rape and murder of 21 boys and a young man. He was imprisoned in San Quentin, California, and requested 2 pepperoni pizzas and 3 helpings of chocolate ice cream as his last meal. He was also chugging Pepsi and Coca-Cola the night before his execution, apparently trying to kill himself from diabetes. Robert Buell. Robert Buell became an overnight celebrity after he was accused and convicted of the rape and murder of 11-year-old Krista Harrison in 1982. He was convicted in 1984, but he was not executed until 2020. His last meal request was rather odd, as he requested a single black olive, unpitted. Miguel Richardson. Miguel Richardson had killed 2 security guards at a Holiday Inn in San Antonio, Texas, in 1979. He wasn't arrested until 1980 and was sentenced to death in 1981, but he wouldn't be executed until 2001. His last meal request was very sentimental, as he requested a birthday cake with the date 2/23/1990. which was his wedding date. He also requested a lot of fruit and a salad with Thousand Island dressing. Ronnie Lee Gardner. Ronnie Lee Gardner was convicted of 2 counts of murder in 1985 and sentenced to death. He sat on death row for 25 years and finally received his last meal. Gardner's last meal consisted of lobster tail steak, apple pie, and vanilla ice cream. He also wanted to enjoy his meal while watching the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Jonathan Nobles. Jonathan Nobles was convicted of killing 2 women in 1986, and he was sentenced to the death penalty during his time in prison. Nobles had become a devout Christian and spent about 12 years in prison before he was executed in 98. His Last Supper was literally the Last Supper from the Bible, as he requested the Holy Communion, which consisted of bread and wine. Thomas Grasso. Thomas Grasso was convicted of 2 murders, one of which was the strangulation of an 87-year-old woman and the other, the killing of an 81-year-old man 6 months later. He only spent 2 years and 5 months on death row before he was executed. Grasso's last meal was extravagant, consisting of 2 dozen steamed mussels and 2 dozen steamed clams, cheeseburger, half a dozen spare ribs, 2 strawberry milkshakes, strawberries, half of a pumpkin pie, and a can of spaghetti with meatballs. But the meal wasn't perfect, as he requested spaghetti, not spaghetti. This inspired his famous last words: "I did not get my spaghetti. I got spaghetti. I want the press to know this." David Leon Woods. David Leon Woods wanted a birthday cake for his final meal, but he wasn't executed on his birthday, but perhaps he just wanted to celebrate one last time. Andrew Lackey. Andrew just requested a very interesting combination of foods at his execution in 2013. Turkey bologna, French fries, and grilled cheese. I don't see how turkey's bologna would go. Well, with all of this, Lackey was also the first person to be executed in the state of Alabama. Since 2011 or Alabama, you were doing so well, and one guy just ruined everything. Azmol Kasab, who was executed in India for being involved in the 2008 terrorist attack in Mumbai, actually declined a last meal, but he's still worthy of being on this list because instead of giving him nothing, the prison just decided to give him a basket of tomatoes. Maybe he hated tomatoes. Alton Coleman. Alton Coleman is a terrible person, largely because he's a serial killer, but also because of his final meal. It starts out innocent enough. Fried chicken breasts, salad with French dressing, sweet potato pie with whipped cream, French fries with collard greens, onion rings, cornbread, broccoli with melted cheese, biscuits, AI gravy, and a cherry Coke. But his main request was a well-done W. Violet Mignon smothered with mushrooms. Christopher Brooks. Christopher was a simple man with simple wishes. All he wanted for his final meal were 2 peanut butter cups and a Dr. Pepper. Sound like a delicious meal. Adolf Eichmann. Eichmann was one of the major organizers of the Holocaust and was executed in 1962. Israel declined a special meal. He just requested a bottle of caramel red wine, a popular wine brand in Israel, with the normal prison food, which included cheese, bread, olives, and tea. Before during his execution, he drank half of the bottle, wanting to get drunk before the execution of his own. Roger Casement. All he requested for his last meal was a communion wafer. Shortly before his execution, converted to Catholicism and stated he wanted to go to my death with the body of my God as my last meal. Lydell Lee. Besides having a funny name, he's also likely the most recent case on this list, with his execution taking place in 2017. His request is similar to Roger Casement's, as Lydell simply chose to receive Holy Communion as his last meal. Timothy McVeigh. Timothy caused the Oklahoma City bombing in 1995 that killed over 150 people, requested 2 pints of mint chocolate chip ice cream as his final meal before his execution by lethal injection. That's a lot of ice cream, maybe a bit too much. Robert Dale Conkling. Robert is by far the fanciest man on our list. His last meal consisted of filet mignon, wrapped in bacon devane shrimp sautéed in garlic butter with lemon, and a baked potato with butter sour ee. Cream chives, real bacon bits, corn on the cob, asparagus with hollandaise sauce, French bread with buttery goat cheese, cantaloupe apple pie with vanilla bean ice cream, and an iced tea. It seems like he has great taste. Then again, he murdered a man using a screwdriver to the ear, and afterwards dissected the body and put the parts into a garbage can. So maybe he doesn't have the best taste